Warning! This podcast may contain things that you don't want to hear, and content that you don't like to hear, and scenes, and graphic violence, and sexual innuendos that may make some people very uncomfortable.
And hopefully for some of you, content that you do want to hear, which is why you're here.
And sexual scenes that you do want to listen to, and graphic violence that you do want to hear. And graphic sexual violence that no one wants to hear.
This is not the first time you've been disclaiming graphic sexual violence. Considering it's just me and you in this room, I'm very concerned.
You will be in about 3 seconds. Welcome to the Seesaw Podcast with T and Cleves.
Each week, offering up a delayed perspective on life. G'day, and welcome to...
There was no need for that.
Welcome to this week's episode. That's gone out to our... I nearly forgot that it was Australian. I was going to say Canadian.
If you do the Canadian accent as poorly as you just did the Australian one, they will no longer be your buddies, pal.
Well, it's supposed to be an Australian accent because we have Australian people listening. Or people listening elsewhere with a VPN. In which case, tell us what VPN you're using so that we can ask them for sponsorship.
We can hide our porn history.
I mean, just go incognito, mate.
Yeah, but I still feel like people can find it.
Look, they're standing behind you. Get out of the library, mate.
That is a big problem. Going to the school library and...
I mean, we're opening... we don't want to be opening that history. So, how are things, Cleves?
Yeah, not too bad. How are things with you?
Not too shabby.
Good to catch up, innit? It's nice when we have things to talk about.
It is, but considering that we are around each other quite a lot, I feel as though we have nothing interesting to say to each other.
Wow. Does not make for a good podcast. We went to a beer festival.
Yes, we did, actually.
How did you enjoy Lay Beer Festival?
Beer festival was great. I drank a ton of beers.
How many of them were good?
I think a lot of them were very much the same.
You get to that point, doesn't it, at a beer festival?
And a few were terrible.
So you get like one or two that are great.
Yes, I do remember one that was fantastic. And unfortunately, I can't remember what it's called.
That is always a consequence of the beer festival.
Yes. And there was music and food, and it was a good time.
And basically everything you get from a beer festival, then.
Yes. Especially in this COVID world we now live in. I mean, it was nice to do something normal.
Yeah, things are starting to open up again. This kind of brings us on to our episode a little bit.
It certainly does. Little bits.
You're welcome for that reference.
If you get that reference, don't contact us because you're a nerd. So this week, we have a Cleves special.
Oh, here we go.
I think this could be a good one. So this week, we're talking about music, gigs, giggity giggities. So, now that things are open up again, you are not a man who is not known to go to giggity giggity gigs.
There was too many negatives in that. I'm not a man that's not known. What does that mean?
You've gone to a lot of gigs in your day, haven't you?
Yes. Ah, yes. Now I understand.
You understood already. You're just being a pedantic fuck.
There's a lot of negs in there, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I go to gigs.
How many?
7.
More than 700.
I've been to a fair amount of gigs, to be fair, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to go to at least 1 or 2 a month. Sometimes more.
Sometimes less.
Sometimes more. But sometimes less. And occasionally none.
So a lot of local gigs you go to, as well as some like big ones. So you cover the spectrum. Let's just establish that.
Yeah.
And your musical tastes. So we go into that.
If you wish, my musical tastes generally are as a core
foundation.
Yes. As a foundation, my taste is punk rock. But I also like rock, reggae, ska, some grime, some hip hop, very small amount of EDM. But other than that, that's my spectrum. It's quite a vast spectrum, actually, now that I say it out loud.
It is, and you're not opposed. Like, you're not someone who locks themselves down in a genre either. Like, you've been known to go to some unusual.
I went to watch Matt Berry once play music.
I mean, he is fantastic.
He was weird.
Well, that's what I meant.
He made strange songs and he called someone a fucking idiot. It sounds much better in Matt Berry's voice, trust me.
He has got a unique voice. He's a Brian Blessed of this day.
Mm.
But you're also going to see Blondie, Debbie Harry.
Yeah, that's next year, yeah.
So, you like who you like, don't you? You're not, like, labelling your musical tastes, necessarily.
True.
But I think the important thing here is you've gone to all spectrums, sort of highs and lows. And I think that's what we want to touch on, because you get touched a lot at gigs.
You do, actually, yeah. It's a no-no these days. It should be a no-no any time, but
yeah,
it's more in the public eye these days.
Yeah, we went to a gig recently, and I was surprised how many people. I know you get bumped, and like it's like close quarters. That people who actually just touched me, like putting a hand.
Oh no,
on
I
my
wasn't talking
shoulder.
about that. I was talking about people that literally touch people up.
I'm sure that happened. Not to me. Which, okay, we're going to go on record saying that is not okay. Do not do that. But I mean, like, just any sort of contact, like, not just even being bumped around. Someone's trying to get past, the amount of hands on shoulders or hands on arms or across the shoulders moving me around. It's like, I know you got to expect that to a degree, but it's like, there's a difference between bumping people out the way and, like, that's conscious contact, isn't it?
Yeah, same difference.
I guess. Don't touch me.
Mate. You don't want to be touched, don't go to a gig. Or go to an all-seated gig.
Like Elton John.
I mean, Elton John's pretty much seated the entire time. You just see some shoulders bobbing up and down behind a piano.
You made the same joke as Stevie.
Same thing. Same thing happens, don't it?
Yeah.
Just shoulders bobbing up and down behind a piano. Who wants to see that for 2 hours?
I mean...
I know they got songs, don't get me wrong, they got songs. And at one point, Elton might stand up.
Well, only if he's introducing a guest. I was going to say like George Michael, but that ain't happened for a long time.
No. He's,
Wham! So...
Let's begin at the beginning.
Yes.
We're all lovers and we're losers at the end of the day. Buying tickets for gigs. Dun, 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 dun. If you buy a ticket and you're blind, get yourself a free carer.
Depending on the venue.
It's not very rare. Most mid to large venues will give you a carer ticket. It's only small sort of pubs and clubs that probably won't.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to say.
I don't think that's too bad if it's a pub or club because, they need the money. Just let them have it.
They do, but if they're...
The local bands need the money. Local pubs need the money.
Of course, but this is providing that the pub/club is paying the band and they're not marking up their drinks for that occasion.
Well, sometimes they won't be.
I mean, you always got to roll the dice, haven't you?
Yeah.
We used to do gigs. Did you ever get paid?
Not in money.
But did they charge on the door?
Yeah, sometimes.
So what was in it for you? Or the people seeing you?
For the people seeing us, disappointment. For me playing, just something to do, wasn't it?
So the venue benefited?
Oh, yeah.
So they could have given out a free ticket here and there?
Yeah, they did. It wasn't too bad. I'm making more of a thing of it than it wasn't, but
Okay, fair enough.
For small local venues, giving chances like up-and-coming bands to play, that's enough a lot of the time. You're not meant to do it for the money anyway. You're meant to do it for the love.
Yeah. For the art.
Yeah.
So anyway, middle to large venues, you can use an access card.
It is a shout out, but also at the same time, most mid to large venues I know I've always had to send in my disability, my disability document as well as that.
I've done that recently with the Motorpoint Arena in Nottingham.
Once you're on the list, you're on the list.
Yes, I phoned them up the other day to book tickets for a gig, and they're like, "Oh, you're on our list indefinitely." It's like, great.
How many access cards did you need?
None. I just sent them a photocopy of a letter, and they're like, "Yeah, that's fine."
Oh dear.
They gave me a unique number and said, like, "This is the number
7.
you need to let us know." I wish it was 7. I think there was a couple of 7s in the number, but it's like 6-digit. I'm not going to see what other numbers were in there, because other people might try to manipulate.
777
I mean, if they're doing it sequentially, that number is still available. So,
you don't need an access card, but it does apparently help.
yes. We're not going to show the access card
Again.
Because Martin had some very valid points. The police turn away Bilton. I mean, he's not around here. If he is here, then, fuck off Bilton. Okay.
Buy tickets, get a carer, enjoy life. If you want to, split the ticket at half price with them. Go halvesies.
I mean, that is a good way of doing it. Or, if your carer's a dick, they get a free ticket and you pay full price.
Yeah, but if your carer's a dick, then you are essentially dragging into a gig they don't want to go to. So...
yeah, that's true.
They might get a free ticket, but they also have to spend 2 hours of their life watching a shite bands that you don't like. Or that they don't like.
True. I will put a big asterisk against that carer's ticket as well, to say that you don't have to name a carer, at least in my experience. So, if they don't...
You do in Nottingham.
Huh?
You do in Nottingham.
Do you?
Yeah.
I haven't
Your
done
wife's
that.
name would have been on that guest list, trust me.
Oh.
To apply for the ticket, you have to do it.
Okay. Then shut my mouth. But not everywhere will require that, so...
no, it's true.
It depends on the venue, and you might be able to chop and change your carer. So, you rock up to your venue. Your carer's got you there. In one piece, hopefully. Couple of drinks down you. If you're blind, that's usually with your dinner. So how do you navigate the venue, Cleves?
Did you mean that the dinner was down you as well?
Yes. I mean, I'm down your
That
shirt.
was good. I thought you just had the beers with your dinner. That's the only way blind people can drink. They go out to a restaurant.
No, I mean...
and they have to order a dinner with their beers.
No, I mean, it's like a scene, special effects scene from a fucking shitty slasher film.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. So you get there.
You've eaten your spaghetti meatballs.
Yep. Or at least try to. How are you navigating now, looking like the train wreck you are?
What, in the venue?
Yeah.
Well, that's what carers there for, isn't it?
That is true. But it helps if you know the venue.
It does very help, yeah.
I would say if it's a small venue and you're going to see a local band or a smaller band or artist, go there. If you're visiting impaired or blind, try and go there a week before just for a drink. Get an idea of where the stage is going to be, where the bar is, where the bathroom is. Treat it as just a night out. You know what I mean? You're going to have a couple of beers or something. If they've got a quiz night, go out.
It's actually not a terrible idea because let's say for some reason you lose your carer in the crowd, which is entirely possible when the whole crowd is surging and thriving around, and then you're desperate for a piss midway through. All of a sudden you're going to have to start picking out landmarks if you are desperate to get to the toilet.
Yeah. And if you've gone there a week in advance for that one drink with a friend, you can go, okay, I know the toilets are going to be to the left of where the stage are. So you can work your way to the left and sort of pick up on things then. So it's very good to scope it out if you can. And then as time goes on, you'll know all the venues. You know a lot of venues.
Oh, yeah.
Roughly the layout of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just from going there again and again and again.
Again and again and again and again.
Great
From multiple angles.
We did it for 3 hours, but it's done. So, yeah, good advice. Just in case you lose your carer.
It's not just the toilet situation. Maybe you want to go to the bar. If
Bar.
I've been to gigs that are sparsely packed just because it's a niche band. And sometimes it's just nice to know where the bar is and just be able to walk over yourself with a stick and come back. Go back to the dance floor.
True. Smoking area as well.
Yeah, if that's your jam.
If that's your jam. And the way out as well, in case there isn't a smoking area or you want a bit of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things get a little bit intense. Maybe you had a few beers and you just want a breather. Maybe it's that slow song that you're not a fan of. And
here comes the ballad! And all of a sudden you need a piss.
Yeah, need a piss.
Or, this is one of our new songs. All of a sudden, it's piss time.
Yeah, exactly. So, navigation, go there in advance if you can. I think it really does help. Didn't happen. It didn't help so much in the recent gig we went to. It required a lot of fucking stairs.
A lot of venues have stairs.
And
also, there's a lot of people. You can't really...
There were a lot of people. That was sold out.
Mm-hmm.
That was very busy. So that was a carer or nothing job. And even then, that was tough. That was shoulder your way through.
Well, okay, here's what I like about sold out gigs, right? Everywhere's cramped. So, no matter which way you walk, you're always shouldering past people. So no one's really offended.
True, but what I find is I shoulder into people and then move them that way.
Maybe there's an act to it.
Yeah, I think I'll nail that down. I upset a few people.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like knowing where the bar is, the toilet, that sort of thing. I mean, if they have a disabled toilet, identify where that is. That's a godsend. I'm not going to say other people aren't going to use it, but it does help to know where that is. Especially at bigger venues as well.
Oh, if you go to an arena gig or something like that, yeah, then it's easier to pick out usually and less crowded.
Yes.
Small club venues, a lot of the time. They will have them, but fuck knows where they are a lot of the time.
Yeah. And the thing is, with these big arena ones, like sometimes just knowing where the staff are going to be located, that can mean that you take a lot of pressure off of your carer. Because you can, like, let's say hypothetically you're sitting down, that sort of thing. Like, just knowing where you are relative to where one of these staff members are. Because, okay, this is a different circumstance, but it would still apply to a gig if you're at a sit down. When we've been to a show before, when we've gone to the theatre,
La-di-da.
like, the staff have been, like, indispensable when it's come down to getting us to the disabled loos, haven't they? Like, we just find them and staff are like, oh yeah, come this way.
Yeah.
And they will look after you. Like, it's in their best interest to do it. So, yeah, if you're doing a city, then yeah.
Depending on your sight condition as well, it's not as bad at a festival. For example, my sight, provided I can get out of the crowded part of the festival a lot of the time, I can maybe find the toilets, or at least I can see in the toilets. It's always a bonus. There was a particular festival that I went to at night once after being drunk, and my carer helped me into the disabled toilets, but it was one of the portaloos, and as it had no light in there, I did not know exactly where the bowl was, shall we say, and I proceeded to vomit everywhere.
Wow.
Like a sprinkler system.
Jesus Christ.
Needless to say, as I came out, and I sobered up the next day, and we went to the toilet, there was a little sign on it that said out of order, and when my friend opened the toilet, she literally went, oh God, and then closed the door quickly.
Wow. I mean, that does not surprise me with you, but yeah. Jeez.
If you're at a festival and you have a phone with a light and you have, and then you can use that light to find the bowl, that's what I find nowadays.
What I would say is if you go to a festival and you're blinky and you need light, yes, your phone is good for that, but get a pocket torch and just keep it in your pocket for these circumstances, because it's easier to get that out and just click one button than it is for you to like fuck around with your phone. Also, you're not going to have the risk of dropping your phone in that shit. If you just have cheap,
literally in that shit.
Yeah, like if you just have literally like just a £5 off of like Amazon torch that you can just use, I think that really will be beneficial for you. But festivals, yeah, if they're in the daytime, yeah, you're gonna have a little bit more sight, hopefully, or not, depends on your condition. But yeah, I think festivals, like they are slightly different to like night gigs, aren't they?
Yeah, you can see the band a bit better. We actually I met a fellow Blinky at a festival recently who was just kind of standing on his one, and we went up and said hi. I just felt bad actually because his friends were not with him. They'd gone to see other bands, so we went and said hello.
So there's a band then?
Kinda, yeah.
Like dicks?
Well, I think he wanted to see one band and they wanted to see another band, so they kind of just left him there.
Yeah, but they could have had someone with him. Like, come on. Look after you, mate.
Yeah, we kind of picked him up for the day anyway. I think he had a good day.
By the sound of it, he did. So, good on you guys. But yeah, festivals, I mean, they're busy, but they're a bit more open, like you said, so.
Yeah, it's not as bad. I mean, at night, it's weird because during daytime, it's not as bad in terms of you can see people around you, you can see what's going on. But at nighttime, it's worse because it's more open, you can see less because the lights don't stretch out as far a lot of the time. And, you really do need someone at that point to help you back to your tents and around to the toilets and all sorts. So it's kind of a mixed bag, I find, with festivals.
Mixed bag of chips.
Out of curiosity, what are you mixing with the chips?
Dips. Chips and dips.
Okay.
Salty dips.
Okay, this is starting to take a turn. What kind of salty dips?
Salsa with salt. Salsa.
Hard seltzer.
That's a drink.
We're getting off topic.
We are getting off topic. So, can you see the band when you're at gigs?
Actually, I can see most of the band now. Even with my condition with the lights, in most club gigs, I can see the band. Some gigs are a bit worse than others for lighting, especially particularly small venues. I struggle a little bit more. I don't think I've seen a drummer play in a band for a while now. Whereas I used to be able to pick them out because they're usually a bit further behind the guitarists.
Flailing wildly.
Yeah. Most of the time I can see the band. Like I say, it's worse at smaller venues. And I suppose if you're at a large venue or a festival, if you're really far back, then I imagine you're going to struggle unless they've got screens up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see the band, to be honest. I really appreciate fantastic lighting techs because they are the things that I'm drawn to. Like, they're really good lighting. I'm just drawn to, the light display. But as far as actually seeing the band, I couldn't fucking give a shit. I'm just there for the atmosphere.
Okay.
Being jostled and, the live aspect of it.
I mean, the fact that you're still having their music blasted at you by the band must still be pretty awesome. Yeah. Even if you can't see the actual band.
Yeah, that's it. And I know deaf people who go to gigs as well and they get really close because they like the vibrations, right? And they feel the vibrations through them and they like the display of it, and that's something that they really enjoy. And you take what experience you can out of it. So I think that goes on to, what do you get out of it?
Everything. What I like about it is the fact that, when you're at a gig, no one can really, it kind of levels the playing field in a way in terms of being blind, because everyone's just there to watch the band a lot of the time.
I mean, especially if you're in the pit. Would you go in the pit as a blind person?
I would and have, and I rarely do now because I'm getting a bit older, but you can take away that experience from it. The good thing about being blind is if you're in a pit, I'm speaking from punk experience, if you're in a pit and people are smashing about into each other and you're smashing about into other people, it doesn't matter if you're blind or not. They don't even know if you can't see or not. They're just doing it, and I'm just doing it. And if you fall down on the ground, you help someone up. And again, if you trip over someone, or if they're on the ground and you can feel them on the ground, then you help them up. Even as a blind person, you can still do that.
Yeah.
So there's that sort of communal spirit. That's what I mean by levels of playing field. People don't really know if you're blind or not.
Yeah.
Because you're just going nuts, basically.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, I've never been in the pit. And I probably wouldn't. I'm not good with crowds anyway. But I've been in really close quarters with people at gigs, and I've enjoyed it. That's my own space. And that's not even down to my own site. That's just I'm a little bit claustrophobic, so I like to know that I have an out. I can get some space if I need to. And that's just me. I need to be able to know that I can walk away.
Gigs may not be the best place for you, man. Is that difficult for you?
But I love the music.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I mean. I sort of get into it, and everyone's all going in the same direction. Everyone's all there for the band. You get one or two pricks at gigs, but
but that's for the most punch in the ribs does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that a few times. Doesn't much punch. You just leave your hand there and let them do what they want to do.
I'm not saying the blindness isn't the thing. I've been walking along through crowds with my hand on my shoulder or whatever, and I might have knocked someone with a beer, and they've grabbed me or whatever. And then we just, whoever's with me will just sort of walk me away, and we're not getting into anything. It does happen occasionally, but it's not a huge thing.
No, but you get your dicks everywhere. That's everything in life. You know what I mean? You can have that when you commute, you know, so.
Very true.
It's not exclusive. Dicks are dicks, and there'll always be dicks. Put alcohol in the mix, and there'll be dicks.
You're trying to write a song there?
Nope. Just organic, baby. So, closing thoughts.
Enough of my final thought. My final thoughts on gigs. Oh, you know what? If you're going to go to a gig, go to as many gigs as you possibly can. Go to as many different venues as you possibly can. Scope out those venues in advance if they're a place where you can also go for a drink, like your pubs and clubs around your local neighbourhoods. Go and support your fucking local scene, especially now, because a lot of those bands have made zero money for the last 2 years. And here's a good point. If you're going to get a carer, take someone with you that is, one, your friend, and two, wants to see the band, because that way you can split the ticket fee, and you both have a good night out.
I agree entirely. So, Cleves, we have chatted about gigs and going to them, but we haven't chatted about any bands or artists. So, if you want it, like, okay, keep it in mind as sort of the spectator or being Blinky friendly if you can. But I know it's going to be quite tricky. But who would you recommend?
What? I'm not going to recommend bands as such. It's weird for people now. When I speak to people now, they don't tend to have a scene where they belong. Like, when I grew up, I became part of this punk scene. And the reason that I gravitate, or a lot of the reason I gravitate towards that, is the community there is very helpful of each other. And it's very all-encompassing of people with age, race, gender, disability, sexuality. Particularly now, that's a real forefront focus of the punk scene, as opposed to just smash the system, which it kind of used to be. I'm not saying that's not there. The anger's always there. If you want a bit of anger, fuck me, it's there.
Yeah.
It's good release, but at the same time, everyone within that community, I say everyone, 99% of people within that community will help someone else out. And that's what I like about it, and that's why I'll go watch bands that play that sort of music. And that, I would argue, that extends generally to the rock scene, and to the ska scene. Reggae scene, I find, is a little bit more divided for the bands that I've been to see. I couldn't tell you about other gigs. I've been to see Prodigy a few times. People seem a little bit more out for themselves there. Bit
more mainstream, isn't it?
I think the trick is just to trick a bunch of drugs. I think that's always a fun way to enjoy the Prodigy. But it's more about the scene than the music, I think. In terms of what I would recommend people to go watch. What I'd always recommend people to go watch is, if you like a certain band or a certain type of music, to try and look up bands that are like that within your local area and go and support those bands. Go and support the venues, go and support the bands, because they need the money. Both of them need the money. Or even if they're not getting paid, they need the support. So,
yes,
go and help them out.
Yeah, I would say 100%. And just echoing what you said, is like, get rid of some of the preconceived notions you might have about what different genres will be, and sort of like, let's say you're disabled and you're thinking, I can't go to a ska gig because it's full of skinheads. So, well, firstly, skinheads aren't what you think they are.
I mean, if you can't walk, your skanking's going to be limited.
You can skank with your arms.
Yeah, that's very true.
You can do anything. Skanking was invented for those who can't dance. So if you can't move your legs, just skanking your own way. That's the whole point of the dance.
Ska's, again, pretty all-encompassing.
Yeah. But that's the thing, just don't be afraid to get out there. Like, have fun with it. And I'm not going to lie to people. I'm not going to say you won't have a bad experience here and there. I'm sure with all the gigs you've been to, the hundreds of gigs, like, you have had some bad situations. You've had some bad nights.
I've had bad nights because of the crowd, and I've had bad nights because sometimes the band are shit.
But I would guess that some of the, like, you've had better experiences on the whole.
Oh, God, yeah.
You've had so many more better experiences.
It's a very, very small amount of gigs where the crowd has ruined it. It's usually more that the band has ruined it for being shit than the crowd has ruined it.
And that has nothing to do with, like, disability or any other identifying characteristic. That's just like the band being shit. And sometimes bands are shit. Unfortunately, sometimes you have a studio band and they just cannot do it on the day.
I think a lot of the time as well, like, everyone's there for one common goal, no matter of genre or artist. So people are more encompassing of that anyway, because everyone's just there to have a good time. You're all there for the same reason.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
Excelente.
Excellent.
But I think what we'll do going forward is you're not only a gig goer, but you're a gig performer. And I think going forward, we will continue the trend of part 2s.
And talk about playing gigs.
Talk about playing gigs. Because you have played gigs.
Yeah.
And I have done a couple of weird things, which we might include. I
look forward to those.
I mean, you can find them on Pornzog.
Oh, such a random porn site as well.
I don't even know why I know that one.
I think you do.
Everybody knows. And if you're saying, oh, I didn't know that one exists, you're fucking lying. Google knows all. On that seeded note, quite literally.
We shall see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Roll the outro. Ba 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 da ba da da da.
Thanks for listening to the Seesaw Podcast.
You can find us on Facebook at Seesaw Podcast, Twitter, Seesaw Pod. You can email us at seesawpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on TikTok and Instagram at Seesaw Podcast or Seesaw Pod, depending on which one we want. But get us on the other places. This podcast was recorded in front of a blind audience.